So today I'd like to talk to you about 5 vocal effects terms that you'll definitely hear if you're working in the studio, and are also useful if you do your own home studio recording, because you'll see these on the options that you can add to your vocals as effects to enhance your vocal sound. So here are 5 vocal effects. So the first vocal effect I'd like to talk to you about is reverb. And I've heard reverb called echo many times in the studio, but don't confuse the two. An echo is literally an echo on the voice, whereas what reverb does is it simulates a room. So we just talked about the vocal being dry when the signal goes in, but then you can add a reverb afterwards to create space. So if you have a big reverb, like maybe in a large hall sound, your vocal will sound like it's in a huge space, but you can also create a more intimate sound, basically by the room setting that you choose on the reverb, and also the amount of reverb that you put on. So the second vocal effect that I'd like to talk to you about is compression. Now what compression does is it evens out your vocal sound and brings the peaks and troughs of your sound a little bit closer together. So if you're singing quite a dynamic song, you may have start very softly, and then when you get to the chorus it really jumps out. And that's fine when you're singing it and fine for performance, but sometimes when you're recording you want to bring the sound a little bit closer together, because if the quiet parts can get lost in the mix and the louder parts can jump out. So compression just pulls that all together and helps your vocal just to sit really nicely in the mix. So the third vocal effect that I'd like to talk to you about is a little bit of a contentious one. It's auto-tune. Now I know some singers who would be insulted by even the suggestion that they used auto-tune on their fabulous vocal, and I know some producers and engineers who don't let singers know that they're actually using it. But used strategically, auto-tune can be your friend. For example, if you do a really beautiful take that you're really happy with, but just on one slight note you've gone a bit sharp, auto-tune can help to bring that in and create your near perfect take into a perfect take. And auto-tune can also be used as a vocal effect in its own right. So for example in Cher's "Do you believe in life after love?", that little movement, they use auto-tune on that, and that's actually become a signature of that. So with auto-tune, don't ever use it to kind of replace bad intonation or poor intonation, but if you want to use it just to pull something in and to get something sitting beautifully with another instrument, I don't see the harm in that. And the fourth vocal effect that I want to talk to you about is a good one for me. It's a de-esser. So a de-esser basically takes the s-ness out of your sound, so the S and the F, for example, and it reduces what's known as sibilance. Now I'm quite a sibilant person. I've got a very slight lisp on my S's and sometimes on my F's when I'm singing. So for example, a song like "Say a Little Prayer for You," I was exaggerating the S on that. But you can just roll that off a little bit using a de-esser, so that in the mix you don't hear that sound that can sound kind of catch on the ear. Now I would actually prefer to not use a de-esser and to actually try to use a pop shield to reduce the sibilance earlier on in my mix. So if you can avoid using a de-esser, I would suggest you do. But make sure that you practice your S and F sounds before you go in the studio, rather than be really conscious of them when you're recording, because really when you're recording you want to focus on your performance. But de-esser can be useful, especially if you've got just that odd little s or whistle that might come out. So, again, use it sparingly, but when you need to. Double tracking literally means recording the same melody that you've just sung again and then putting both vocal lines together. Now that can be really useful in the studio, particularly for backing vocals, because you can layer them up so they sound quite thick, but then you may want to compress them so they sound smaller in the mix, but they've still got a very present sound. And some artists use double tracking on their lead vocal. So for example, if you listen to Little Dragon or Jose Gonzalez, they use double tracking as a subtle but still very audible vocal effect, and it sounds lovely. It just kind of catches on the ear and adds a bit more interest without kind of distracting from the main melody. For singers who've got quite a thin sound, they may want to double track their vocal just to add the element of thickness, and you can put that lower in the mix. So by lower in the mix I mean in a lower volume, but to the ear, especially if you're living on headphones, you'll still hear it. So really, double tracking vocals is a matter of taste. I'd say nearly always I would do that on backing vocals, and sometimes do it on a lead vocal depending on the effect that I'm trying to achieve.